this clip, I'm going to explain how to build a motif. This is an essential skill that we need to implement the exercises on pre-improvisational skills. These skills require that we work with short ideas to develop other skills. One of them is understanding the short idea itself, but others involve developing awareness of phrase lengths, interacting with the ensemble, developing more accurate tempo and rhythm while we improvise in an ensemble. So it is really important that we have good motifs to run all these exercises. What I'm going to show you here is that initial step, that very first step of building a motif. And the process basically is building a motif in slow motion. So the techniques to build a motif are actually very, very simple, but perhaps because of that, they are often taken for granted. The problem that I encounter with players who are new to improvisation is that they jump into building the motif without many parameters up front. First of all, we need a tempo referent. Roughly, what's my beat? So say I establish, okay, it's going to be something along the lines of this. I'm already starting to narrow down the scope to come up with a motif, the range of ideas that I can come up with. After establishing the beat, I need to decide a time signature. Let's say I'm going to use 4/4, and then I need a pitch frame. And this can be, say, a scale, such as I'm going to use F pentatonic, for which I may decide, okay, my first note is going to be A. So I decide which scale or which choice of notes, and within there I make further choices. Or they can be a chord. Okay, I'm going to use the notes of G minor. And I say, okay, my first note is going to be D. Or I can just take random notes, such as say, okay, I'm going to use C, F sharp, and B, without worrying about which scale this belongs to or which chord or harmony this outlines. They are just 3 random pitches. Let's go with the first example. I'm going to use the F pentatonic scale, and I'm going to use, I'm going to start on A. So I set my beat, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I repeat the beginning of my motif, and I think, okay, what could happen next? Well, let's say I want to go to the C. So, this is already a motif. What I want to do now is make it a little more interesting. At the moment I have only 2 notes. I'm thinking, okay, how about if we add 2 more? I'm going to repeat the C. 1, 2, 3. And that's already a much more interesting motif. I could add perhaps 1 more note, so it could be. So I'm adding 1 more note, which is the D, all right? To incorporate the motif over the backing track, I may have to make some changes in terms of tempo, perhaps in terms of key, because the backing track may be in a different key than the one I made my motif. But that's totally fine. That's also part of adapting the motif to run the exercises. What I do is I run the backing track. Here it is. So I find the beat and the bar line, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I try my motif. Okay, I'm going to do the one in 4/4, the one in F major. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it work or it doesn't? The pitch material doesn't particularly clash with the motif, but we are not in the same key. The motif is actually in the key, the backing track is in the key of C minor, and I'm playing in, well, I'm using these three notes, which do belong to C minor, C Dorian, but they don't sit particularly well. So how about if I use C, E flat F, which is the same motif transposed up a minor third. Instead of starting on A, now I'm starting on C, but the motif is exactly the same. Let's see if it works. It works. I'm happy with it. So, all right, I can move on and do the exercises. Now, as an important recap, keep in mind that a motif has to be short idea, anything between 2 to 5 notes. It has to be easy to memorize, easy to incorporate, easy to replicate. And it has to have features that would lend itself for further development. That means the outline has to be clear, for example. In this case, it goes up. That's a clear outline. The rhythm is clear. It's clear that I start on 1 on the downbeat. 3, 4, da, 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 and the other 3 notes are on the upbeat. So there's syncopation, which is another clear gesture that lends itself for developing. It's also clear that I'm repeating the C. So the middle note is repeated, which perhaps suggests that it's the more important note in the motif. So the motif, simple as it is, suggests already quite a few interesting characteristics. Let me show you another example using the G minor chord that we talked about at the beginning. So in this case, I'm going to use 3/4. 1, 2, 3, do 1, 2, 3. And I said I'm going to start on the D. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So where do I want to go next? Well, I want to go to the G. Why not? Let's try. So I loop it. Does this work as a motif? Sure it does. And that's my motif. What would I need to do to make this motif fit this backing track? Now, this backing track is in C minor, that I know already. So instead of using G minor, I'm going to use C minor. Now the pitch material is sorted out. All I need to do is transpose it from G minor to C minor. But now I need to adapt the 3/4 meter to the 4/4 meter of the backing track. So let's see how would this be. So when I go to 4/4, the backing track I'm counting this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm still using the downbeat of 1 bar and the downbeat of the 2nd bar.